Good afternoon, everyone. Just going to wait a couple more seconds to let some more people through the lobby, and then we'll get started. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the postponed October webinar here in November. Thank you so much for joining us today. You have all joined to hear the speech given by Ross Mardell, our Chief Product Officer, for the second time now. Ross is now feeling much better, which is fantastic. It's great to have him back. And he will be giving the talk today that he delivered back in September in DigiGov on the AI stage about the AI tools that have been developed in Verto with public sector PMOs in mind. Now, before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that today's session is being recorded, and we'll make that recording available after the session. So if you miss anything vital, don't worry, you will have a chance to go back and revisit anything that was shared. Just a quick note, though, we're not able to send the recording through email to anyone who's signed up using a personal email address due to GDPR restrictions. So if you have signed up using a Gmail or a Hotmail or anything like that, don't worry. Although you won't get the email, you can always access the recording on our website. Just head to the webinar and podcast page a few days after the recording. It should be there. Now, some of you here today may well have seen us talk before. As mentioned, Ross delivered at DigiGov, and we were told that it was one of the most well-attended sessions of the entire event, which we were thrilled about. If you were there, you would have seen the staging area was completely packed. So if you are joining us again today for a second time, you guys get the gold stars. And hopefully you brought some great questions along for the Q&A, which is something that you may not have had the chance to do back in September. The AI developments that we've got and that Ross is talking through today have also been really well received by our current clients. And we are hoping that some of our current clients are also on the call today. And if you are, great to see you, and you guys get gold stars as well. If you are, however, joining us for the first time, then welcome. And it's fabulous to have you here with us. Hopefully you can join us for many more of these monthly webinars. And if you are here for the first time, have a gold star as well. Why not? But anyway, after all of those welcomes and all of those gold stars, I want to bring Ross on to the screen, and Ross can get us started.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you for that introduction, Laura. As it's nice to see so many of you on the call. As Laura mentioned, I am the Chief Product Officer for Verto. You can see my delightful picture on the screen. I decided to do a change of shirt for this particular session. I've also delivered this speech a couple of times now, and for those of you who did see it the first time round, it will be slightly different because I don't tend to just read off a slide deck, and my interpretation of my own slides tends to be different every single time I run through it. So just a brief introduction on who I am. My name is Ross Mardell, as Laura said. I'm one of the founders of Verto, and I've spent the vast majority of my career managing software development in public sector environments. I've also spent time as the head of IT for 3 separate local authorities up and down the country. Now I'm going to do this talk, but we're very much assuming you have no knowledge at all. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Verto, about what the company does, what our product does, and then we'll talk to you about the AI solutions that we've spent the last 3 or 4 months developing together with our customers. Now, if you don't know Verto, hopefully as many of you do, we are market leading provider of portfolio project management solutions to the public sector. And as I said, we've been working very hard to help our customers leverage AI in how they might be able to do stuff with Verto and how AI can help. it's a really interesting development. It's been a really interesting development process because AI is the fastest moving tech that I've ever worked in. I might not look this old, but I've been working in development for nearly 30 years. And I've never ever seen a piece of technology move as fast as AI has and is still moving. Just to give you an illustration of that, I guess we probably started this journey about 6 months ago, working on our AI solution. And since we started that, the underlying technology that we're using to deliver our AI solution inside Verto has changed 3 times. So to rip up and start again 3 times in a development process of 6 months is absolutely unheard of in development software development world. But that's how fast AI is moving. So as I said, I want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the challenges that you face when you're running programs and projects, and how Verto can help, and how the AI functionality that we've built into our solution can help you deliver those things. So without further ado, program and project challenges. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these elements on these slides, but actually the information on here is probably familiar to many of you, and the challenges that you face running programs and project management solutions across your particular business. Now, nobody creates a project and intends it to be difficult to track, or intends for it to be difficult for people to make decisions on the data that's in there. And all of this stuff happens because of organic growth in your program project management. Programs and projects grow over time, and more are added to particular businesses, and you end up just by organic growth with data spread across the organization, because Jim happens to have created a great risk spreadsheet for managing risks in one department, but Joanne's created another one over in another department for managing the risks and also managing the tasks and milestones, and that's great too. But I want to know about all of the projects. How do I do that when I've got loads of different pieces of information across the business? And so typically what happens is you end up with this challenge where your data is spread totally across the organization, and you just cannot get a handle on it. It also brings about what we call the problem of the accidental project manager. Some data says that there's only probably between 15 and 20% of project managers who are managing projects actually are trained in a discipline. Quite interesting. And if you think about it, how you got into project and program management, it's often when your boss says, "Hey Ross, can you just manage this particular thing for me?" And you say, "Okay, yeah, fine. Let me go figure it out." And you start to look, okay, how do I need to manage the risks in here? How do I manage the costs? How do I do the tasks I've got to complete? When do I know when it's complete? How do I know how much I've spent? And all of those sorts of things. And it's what we term the accidental project manager. And if you say that only 15 to 20% of people are actually trained in project management, that means 80% of all project managers are kind of winging it when they start. And so it's unsurprising then that you end up with this sort of challenge when you're trying to manage projects and programs. What it often leads to, of course, is that the SLT will sit here and say, "By the way, can you give me all the data about all of our projects that we're running, and how much are we overspent by, and how many risks have we got?" And people can't get that information out because it's across the business. And so that leads to often frustration from the senior leadership team, or it might be an audit that someone says, "Show me all the risks," or "Show me the spend," and that sort of stuff. And you can't get that data. And it leads to the creation of a PMO. But fixing all of those challenges are really hard. Anybody who's tried to create a PMO will understand how difficult this is. And being a data guy, always immediately just go straight into this is a data problem. The data's across the organization, so it's really difficult to get. But it isn't just about data. It's about those project management skill levels that we just talked about, and not having fully trained project managers. How do we manage projects in that environment? But it's also about having some degree of consistency across that organization. And how do you do that? Well, if you think about it, it's a giant change management problem. it really is a huge change management problem. And the one thing people really don't like is change. And so actually, you can bring Verto in. You can bring Verto in to as an underlying product to help you to manage all of your data. But actually, you need our professional services team who can help you along the way of that journey of the change management as well. Because it isn't just about software. This is about how you change the culture, the environment, make people. What do people get out of doing this? They will typically only change if there's an incentive for them to do so. And that's usually best created by saying, oh, look at the data you get out of it, or giving them a system that's easy to use, or giving them something that they didn't have before that's useful to them. So how does Verto help? Unsurprisingly, the first step, of course, is bringing all of the data into a single system. So how do I get all that data into a single system? Now, bringing all the data into a single system is particularly difficult. And actually, one of the solutions that we're not going to do a demonstration of today, but where we can bring data into the system is what we call turning unstructured data into structured data. And this happened with one of our customers, one of our very large customers, who said, we're trying to bring on hundreds and hundreds of users and across many, many teams. And they've all got these spreadsheets of risks and they've got spreadsheets of issues that they need to import. And we said, fine, look, we'll create you give us your spreadsheet and we'll create you a risk import that's bespoke for you. You can just import it like that. And they said, yeah, there's the problem. There are 25 teams with 25 different spreadsheets. And every single one of them is different. I was like, okay, so this now becomes an interesting challenge. So we looked at that from an AI perspective and thought, well, actually, just because it's got your, let's just take risks as an example. Just because it's got your risks may be sorted in different columns in Excel, ultimately a risk spreadsheet is going to contain roughly the same information. So now what we can do is we upload a risk spreadsheet and Verto says, aha, I can see you've got a risk spreadsheet. This is how I think your columns map to how you're recording risks inside Verto. So it says that column, I think, goes to the risk title. That column, I think, is how likely or what the likelihood and impact looks like. Oh, I can see you've got an owner in there. Okay, that maps to an owner that you might have in Verto for managing risk as well. And so what that allows us to do inside the AI engine of Verto is do 80% of that heavy lifting of bringing unstructured data into a structured world. But again, it's a tricky thing to do. But once you've got all that data together, of course, it means you can start to provide some consistency in the project delivery because you're putting all your data into the same place. You have to be able to then also match the workflows to the way the organization works. Now, anybody who says to you, well, it's fine, we've just got one workflow. Well, do you? Because how does a capital program work against perhaps business as usual activity? Let's not ignore the business as usual activity because business as usual activity often is almost as large as some of your big capital programs that you may be operating. Now, of course, bringing it into a single system and having consistency and having a managed workflow process helps to upskill the workforce. It helps those accidental project managers because they've now got a consistent framework in which to put it. And of course, as soon as you've got all of that data together in a single place, your meaningful management information and allowing you to make informed decisions becomes way, way easier. So that's how Verto helps. Sorry, moving on. So how can AI help in a PMO environment? How can it help you to manage that change? How can it help you with your data? Now, on this one, I always talk about the bottom point because we must bring value to the end user. I'm not, and all the way through our development processes, when we very first started looking at AI, I said, I'm not putting an AI badge on Verto just because it puts a fancy badge on it and it helps marketing and sales to sell more. If we're going to put an AI badge on this, it has to provide value to the end user. It has to be able to give them a tangible benefit to help them through their day. And of course, it must be done securely within the governance frameworks that you have. So you must be able to make sure your permission structure is maintained. We'll talk a little bit about security later on. But actually, how can AI help? Well, of course, at the moment, if you're thinking about traditionally how you'll use AI tools at the moment, we've probably all used maybe ChatGPT or Copilot in the last couple of days. And you've sat there and you've typed this really expansive prompt saying, oh, and here's some information, and please can you go and look at this information, and can you provide me this summary about this and this summary about this? But you're providing all of that information up front in order for it to do that. If, of course, you bring AI to the data, so you start to take AI to the data, it of course knows all that data already because it can see it. It's close to the data, so it can start to. It means it can go and read it, every single update to every single project you have access to in seconds, and really provides meaningful information about your data. For me, the biggest one here is helping employees with the blank page problem. And we've not yet talked about this, but again, it's kind of something accidental project managers face, and I'm sure every single one of us has faced it, where somebody says, oh, can you just get on and do this, please? And you open up the Word document or the Excel spreadsheet and go, right, what am I doing now? And it's just a blank page, and you're sitting there thinking, where do I start? How do I start? And what we can do with AI in Verto is to help solve that blank page problem. So if I need to get started, I can say to the AI, help, I need you to get me started. Create me a plan. Create me what does the financial framework look like here? How can I start to build out this project plan? And again, it's about doing that heavy lifting. Is it going to get it 100%? No, it's not going to get it 100%. But can it get 80% of the way there? Absolutely it can. Absolutely it can. And of course, all of this goes towards supporting the resources that you already have that are under pressure. Okay, every single one of us, I'm sure, is really busy, and your resources are under pressure all the time. Okay, and I guess the final point I want to make here is that the fact that actually, can we bring expert knowledge to the team from an AI perspective? So can I bring an AI tool to the party that is an expert project manager? Can I bring an AI tool to the party who is a financial manager? It's all of those particular things that we can bring to the party by using AI. So how does that translate itself into Verto? Well, we've created two tools that I'm going to show you today. This is in addition to the input that I talked to you a little bit earlier. So it's called, what we call it, our data insights. So data insights are our single-click AI solution, really aimed at project managers who need to be able to get very quick AI analysis of project data. Don't necessarily have that experience of creating AI prompts, although we're all getting much better at that. I know that for sure. But actually, it's a single click. I push the button. What does it show me? Okay, it provides an opinion on particular project data. Now that's actually really good when you're talking to even experienced project managers, because that data insights that the AI is giving you often makes you think, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I honestly didn't think about that. And it starts to make you think. And by doing that, again, you're starting to help upskill the person who's doing it. Oh yeah, why don't I go look at that? The second part of the solution we're going to show you today is what we call our Verto Intelligence partners. Now, this is where AI becomes a lot more sophisticated in the Verto world, and it's our agentic solution. So bringing real AI specialists, project specialists to your programs and your projects. Now, you see a list of the Verto Intelligence partners on the right-hand side there. What we didn't do is we didn't just say, oh, well, you can have one AI. No. In using the VIPs, you can create a team of professionals that you add to your program or your project. So if you want a risk manager, add Ruby Risk, and Ruby Risk will be your risk manager, and you can ask her questions and she will give you a response because she's read every single book there is to read on the internet about managing risk. Okay, and the same applies for a lot of the other intelligence partners that you'll see down there as well. So you see there's a whole bunch of intelligence partners that you can add to your projects or your programs. Now, the interesting thing in the third column is the personality. So it maybe adds a little bit of fun to it, but actually what we can do is you can change the personalities of the partners that you add to your projects. So, for example, you see Ruby Risk there is a pessimist. She's a risk manager. I'm not surprised. All of the others are set to professional when we start as default. But often we go and set the IT manager to the optimist, because they generally are optimists. They think that they can get stuff done in time that's just unachievable. But you can go and play with these, and if you are using our solution, don't try using something like Poetic, because it starts to give you responses that are like Shakespeare. But it's a bit of fun, and it just brings a little bit of light to managing your projects and programs. The interesting thing about Verto Intelligence Partners, of course, is that it understands the organizational context and the framework that it's operating in. So we have customers across lots of different sectors, so health sector, private, local government, central government, and they operate across different frameworks, and they operate against different organizational contexts. And different organizations will be trying to achieve different things. So one council might be trying to achieve a really high savings budget, whereas the NHS provider might be focused on frontline solutions and how to deliver best to a patient. And so they're completely different, but the VIPs need to operate in those contexts, and so need to understand the organizational context in which they're operating. And so they do that inside of Verto. So without further ado, I'm going to go into my demo. Now, this is where everything will probably go wrong, because I'm going to be doing a live demo, but we shall see what happens. Please bear with me. So, those of you who don't know Verto, this is the standard Verto interface and a dashboard that we get to when we go in. And I'm going to dive straight into one of our projects. So I'm going to dive into what we call our Cranberry High Road Link project. So you can see it's a project that's been running for a little while, since 23, due to finish at the end of this year. Its current status is set to everything is fine. So how does our Verto Data Insights work? Well, anywhere you see this AI icon here, so this little AI icon here, you click that, I'm going to do here. And what the Data Insights is then going to do is going to take all of the data from this project, all of the organizational context it's operating in, every single project update that's ever been made on the project, every single risk update, every single issue update, task and milestone update, everything that's been put into this project. And it's going to provide you with an overall status of what it thinks the project should be at. So we've currently got it set at everything that's fine. The AI thinks it should be help required. Now that's fine. Why does it think it should be help required? And you've probably read that while I've been just waffling on and just ignoring me, but you can see it's come up with a really good reasoning about why it should be help required. Now you might not necessarily agree with it, but at the very least, it will make you think, okay, is that right or isn't that right? Does that match what I think? Have I got it wrong? Should it be red? Should it be green? What should it be like? Now, and of course, if you accept that suggestion, you can just say, okay, I'll accept that, push that. It will change the status of the project to help required, and it will put the narrative in there. So I can then go in and I can then edit that narrative if I want to. Now, of course, this all goes into our audit track changes, so that you can see that it was AI that made the suggestion and you weren't intelligent enough to type all of that in yourself, and the AI actually did that. Of course, subsequent updates where you may go and choose to edit it, then you get the credit against that. But it goes into the change history, so you can see exactly what's gone on with the project. So that's our one-click AI. That a one-click AI doesn't just work against the overall status of a project. As your administrators of a system can go set up on anywhere. So if I want to, for example, I have another one here on risk status. So I can push the Data Insights button, it will go and read all of the information there is about just risks this time. So it's going to look at all of the risks, every update that's happened in the risks, but what's the overall status of the risks in this project? Okay, and again, it thinks it should be help required. I'm not going to go and accept that suggestion, but it gives you an idea of how our data insights work and how you can place them wherever you choose to in the system, and allow it to help your project managers to begin to understand the data better, make better decisions about what they're going to do with their projects, and three, perhaps learn something themselves. Okay. So I'm now going to move into what I called our Verto Intelligence partners. So again, you'll see we have a left-hand navigation item called Verto Intelligence. sorry, my Blue Peter conversation. That's in case everything horribly goes wrong and we have a conversation ready set up. Now, I'm going to call this SLT, this chat. And this is where we get the opportunity to add our Verto Intelligence partners. So I'm going to add Carol because she's a project coordinator. I'm going to add Ruby, and I'm just going to add Frank Finance. I'm just going to add the three of them. I'd usually add Peter, but he can be a bit dull. So I'm just going to add those three to start with, and it will start a new chat for me. Okay, and I can now start to have the conversational user interface, just like you would with ChatGPT or Copilot, with these three individuals. So I'm just pasting that in. I didn't type that. I've just gone pasted that from another window, and I've just said I'm going to SLT today, and I need to provide a project progress update. Could you each give me a summary of your assessment of the project, and then I'd have asked Carol to pull it all together into one-page summary that I can take to SLT. So Carol's gone away and she said, okay, let me just go ask Ruby about the risks. So she's gone away and asked Ruby about the risks. And then she's gone away and now she's asked Frank about the finance. Frank has responded on the finance. And now Carol has decided, quite conveniently, she's not going to give me a summary. This is the world with living in AI. Sometimes she does and sometimes she doesn't. So we can just simply say, Carol, could you summarize, please? I could tell her off and that sort of stuff, but doesn't help. You can argue with your AI to your heart's content. It doesn't help. And so you see now Carol has done exactly what I asked in the first page. She's given me the one-page summary, given me the strategic context. So you can see that it's actually contributing towards the city's £85 million savings plan from 23 to 26. It's got that from the organisational context that I talked about before. That's not in this project. It's gone and got that from the overall organizational context. And then from the risk perspective, this is what this project looks like. From a financial snapshot, this is what this project looks like. So we've got an overspend of 45,443 against this project, with a forecast of another 129,000 to spend, with a major variance on the contractor costs. Okay, so it's good. It's given me this good, decent summary of where this project's right up to. Now, the other thing the VIPs do when they respond, and one of the great things about having it, of course, inside Verto, is that you then create these links as well. So where I've got this data center risk that it's highlighted here, it's put a link to that data center risk. So I can be sitting inside of this VIP chat, just click that, and it'll immediately display that. Well, that's not actually a risk. That's a mitigation strategy for the risk. So it's then come up and shown me what the mitigation strategy is for the risk. Okay. If I have a look at this staff costs exceeding planned budget, again, another contingency, how to fix it. Okay, and so it's providing me the risk details. So here's again links to each of those things that I want to look at. So it's done a pretty good job of actually analysing that project, getting the information from the financial advisor, from the risk advisor. I could have had as many VIPs as I wanted to there. I just haven't, because it would just take too long for us to go through the demo. You can start to see what you can do. And if I wanted to here, I'm not going to do it on another demo, is to actually say, can you create me a risk for this? Or can you create me a cost for this? Can you create me a task and milestone for this particular task? So I'm just going to move on to the next part of this demo, where I'm going to move into James Road School project. Now let's look at this project for a minute. It's absolutely empty. It has nothing in it. It has a start date and an end date and a title. It has no tasks and milestones in it, no costs, no benefits, no risks, nothing. It's a completely dead problem. So this is your archetypal blank page problem. Right, I've got to build the school called the James Road School. How am I going to do it? So how do we go about starting to do this? And again, let's add Carol, and we'll add Peter, who's the project manager, and we'll call this build plan. So what can I do here? Well, I can start to say, okay, I'm going to say, Peter, we're pulling together a plan for this project. Could you give me the 10 high-level tasks to complete and how long we should allocate to each of them, including possible start and end dates? We need the school completed by the end of July 27. So here you go. Peter's come back and he's gone, okay, right, there you go. There's your 10 top-line tasks on things you need to do to build a school. If I'd have said 20 things, 30 things, 40 things, 50 things, it would have got more granular as I'd done it. And I can then say, thanks, can you add those tasks? And hopefully what people will now do is go and create a draft project plan for us. So having a think about it. Sure, I'll add those tasks to the project. And now it's asking the Verto system to go and add all of those particular tasks to the project. So it's taken those 10 things that we talked about, and it's adding them to the project. Hopefully it's putting sensible start and end dates on them. So let's go take a look. So if I go to home here, and remember, we were into this where we had 0 tasks and milestones before, and now there you go. It's created you a plan running up to the end of the middle of 2027 with those tasks and milestones correctly put in place. Now, is that perfect? No, it's not perfect. It's your outline plan. It's your absolute outline plan of how you could start to build on that. So, of course, detailed design and engineering is going to need a whole bunch of tasks and milestones sitting underneath it. But this has fixed that element of, right, here's a blank page. Right now, at least I've got something to start to hang everything on. And I could have done exactly the same with the costs, the benefits, the risks, or any of these other elements within a project. It's just this one shows it in a nice Gantt format. It's a nice, easy one to illustrate. So that's another great use case for our Verto Intelligence partners. Now, I'm also then going to look at a program level. So if I look at this property stream program sitting inside Verto, I'm just going to push this hierarchy button. So in this hierarchy button, we can now see, right, this property stream that we're looking at, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 projects sitting inside it. So the program is called property stream, and there are nine live projects all sitting inside there as managed projects. So actually, let me go into manage this particular property stream, and I'm going to open up a new chat in here. So I'm going to call this chat. Oh, sorry. Wrong button. I'm going to push this one. I'm going to add a new chat, call it alignment. Okay, and I'm going to tell it to include the hierarchy. So if I push that include hierarchy button, it's going to go and include all of those 9 projects that sit inside the project hierarchy. And I'm going to add Carol again. I'm going to add Polly Program, who is our designated program manager. And this time I'm going to ask her, how does my program align with the council outcomes? So what it's going to do is it's going to take all of the project data, all of the accumulated project data across the whole of the program, pass that to the AI and say, okay, from all of the things that sit inside these projects, how are they contributing to the overall objectives and strategic objectives that we're trying to achieve as a council? Now, you might say, well, that's the program manager's job and should have done that at the outset of trying to figure out how we're trying to align. But often that changes over time because projects get added that have different objectives that they meet, or perhaps a project changes and it changes its alignment to the particular objectives. But over time, they will generally change. And so there you go. It's done a pretty good job. So it's saying, okay, alignment of the property stream with the council outcomes. So here are the outcomes: growth in the city, business, and decent jobs. So it believes these projects are contributing towards that particular objective or outcome. For 1.4, increased inward investment and improved infrastructure. These are the projects it thinks are contributing to that. So that's great. It's telling me which outcomes and which projects are contributing to it. But actually, how? Why is that contributing towards that particular objective? So I'm going to ask her to expand a bit on why it thinks each of the projects applies to those outcomes. And this is where you can really start to get into an argument with the AI about how closely this alignment works. And one of my colleagues, Craig, on a call, I was with him a few weeks ago, and he spent about 15 minutes arguing with the AI about why a particular project matched an outcome. But it got there in the end, okay? So, and you can see here, it's saying so outcome 5.1, just as an example, the modern, sustainable and connected public travel infrastructure, which is one of our council objectives, PR120 improves the street connectivity. PR136 includes road improvements. For 309, create a transit hub, integrates transport links across access. So you can see exactly why it said, there you go, I'm creating connected public travel infrastructure, and here are how those projects contribute towards that particular outcome. Okay, so you can see how it's going across our entire, not just our individual project data, but it's going across all of our program data, and it's doing that also within the constraints of the information governance that we're allowing it to see. So I'm an administrator of the system, so I can see every project. If I was just an ordinary user who had access to only maybe 5 of these projects, you would only start to get output from 5 of these projects coming through in your AI. So it's a really, really powerful tool. That's at the end of what I'm going to show you in AI, but this is really just the start of where we're going with AI, because not only can it do this, but it can, as I said, it can add individual risks, it can add individual issues, it can add individual tasks and milestones, as we've seen, costs, it can add savings. All of those things it can add as individual agents. So you simply say to it, can you add me a risk for this? And it will add you a risk for that. Am I missing any risks in this project? And it will give you analysis of the projects, of the risks it thinks you're missing in a project. And with the kind of where we can take this is endless, but this is where we're up to today, and we're moving this forwards all the time into new areas and how we can take the AI technology forwards. So that's that's kind of what I wanted to do on the demo. Let me just come back to my presentation. Ooh. Okay. So key takeaways, I think maybe we can talk about a little bit about here. AI must provide a genuine benefit to the end user, and I've talked about this at length. Why would we end up doing anything that we just put an AI badge on it? It has to be useful, and I think you've seen in the demonstration, all of those things that we put in there would be useful and would save people time. One of the things we really found, the third point here, your agent should be specialists to add the most value. And as part of the development, we created generic agents. And just having a generic agent, okay, it kind of knows everything, but having a specialist, it also means that you can take the output of what, say, a finance manager says and pass that through to the IT manager and say, what do you think of the response that the IT manager has given me? So by using those specialist skills, you can start to create much more nuanced AI than you can by just having a generic AI agent. The security of the information, the data and the information processed by the AI is critical. And we spent an awful long time engineering, making sure that all of the data that's put in or sent to a large language model as part of this solution doesn't get stored anywhere else, doesn't get stored outside of the UK, and it is being processed in an environment that is entirely GDPR compliant and sits inside the security frameworks that we're comfortable with. The last point on there, though, many PMs are accidental project managers, and the AI here we're seeing is a huge upskill opportunity. We see, as we started to use this, we realized that actually it's better than us. AI is much better at this, even as our team of really skilled project managers. Sometimes the AI comes up with stuff that we just didn't think of, and so when we put that to our customers, they say the same. Verto Intelligence. So we talked about many of these things today. So all of these things are available today. So we have a Copilot agent already. We have our Verto Intelligence help bot, which anybody who used Verto has probably used. The risk import, which I talked about a bit earlier. The data insights and the Verto Intelligence partners. So it's just a quick recap on the elements of Verto Intelligence that we have. So that's the end. We're now into our Q&A part. So hopefully I didn't take too long, Laura.
No, I think that was great. Thank you so much, Ross, for talking through that again. This is going to be, we're going to roll you out to do these things quite a lot, I expect, especially as the AI just keeps developing at the pace it's going. but yeah, that was great. And I mean, I've heard it several times, but I love hearing about it. It's so exciting. And I mean, it's groundbreaking. And yeah, but we can't wait to see lots of our clients using it more and more and more. Now, yes, Q&A time now. I'm going to also bring on our colleague, Craig Dixon. Craig is our solutions specialist. So he knows Verto inside and out and will be able to help field some of the questions. So hello, Craig.
Hello.
Good, your mic's on, that's great. Good start. Now, the Q&A is open to anybody who would like to pop in a question. We've had a couple already, so I will start with Chris came in first. So you may well have sort of gone over this in at various stages of your talk, Ross, but if you could sort of summarize, Chris is asking, what kind of tasks or challenges do you see AI taking off people's plates first? What impact is that going to have on PMO efficiency?
Yeah, I think we sort of covered it with the heavy lifting bit is the bit that's going to really help people. Is that blank page problem and doing the heavy lifting is where I think a lot of the power is going to come in, and also doing the I think the vast majority of our users will start by using just the data insights button. Using that data insights button is really powerful because it often just says, oh, by the way, you need to do that because you've forgotten to do it. By the way, you need to do that because you've forgotten to do it. So signposting people into things that they haven't done, because let's face it here, that we're augmenting the power of the human with AI here. We're not taking away the human elements of this. The human and the AI together are much more powerful than either just the human or just the AI. So this isn't one of those AI is going to take my job. It just isn't. It becomes a lot more powerful having those two things in tandem.
Yeah, we actually hosted a webinar for our clients on Friday, and a really interesting use case came up with one of our clients who has been using the data insights button and actually has used it as a prioritization and to-do list. So initially they clicked the data insights button. I think it was for risks specifically. It brought up a list of, actually it might have been for everything. Anyway, it brought up a list, the recommendations. We think, you say you're this, but we think you're this. And it just brought to the surface, and large programs that span, vast teams and last a long time. It's going to be hard to sort of bring these up to the surface, but this is an excellent tool to be able to bring the priorities up to the surface so that you can tackle them first, go back in a few months or whatever the timing is, once they've got done, data insights, hit that data insights button again, and then see where your project is then. So I thought that was a really interesting use case.
There is also a really use case for what we term lessons learned. And it's one thing people are really bad at when managing projects is a project finishes, but what lessons did we learn from managing that project? And that works really well across a program environment where you've got many projects running across many programs, and you can literally just say to the AI, what are the lessons we should have learned from this? And quite often it will come back and it will say the usual things like, yeah, you need to do better stakeholder engagement. You need to make sure you talk to the people who are going to be your suppliers early. You need to make sure that you've got your finance in place and those sorts of things. But it often comes up with things that actually you think, oh, okay, yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. So I think there's a use case for the lessons learned piece, but it's a bit further down the road because it's once stuff is done.
Yeah.
And just to add to that before we move to the next one, the second part of that is the impact that it has on PMO efficiency, right? PMOs are almost like a center of excellence in an organization, right? If there's a new PPM tool coming into play, chances are that they're driving that adoption. They are the conduits between the PPM community, the SLT. They know what the SLT are looking for more so than the community and the accidental project managers. So that second opinion on what I've put as a status is really important because it can help me get closer to the mark on what I should be thinking about. It rationalizes lots of data and it helps you understand what SLT might be looking for, as per what Ross showed with the agents and the partners, where it can understand at an SLT level and from a specialist level what they're looking for. So every time they're using this, they're slowly but surely becoming more mature and they're upskilling themselves with the support of AI to help the PMO maybe spend less time doing that face-to-face training, that conversation organizational piece, helping them understand why a project maybe shouldn't be red, why it shouldn't be amber, and even down to we briefly mentioned it, but that chatbot that we've got, the support chatbot, is actually really powerful, because PMO are often responsible for ongoing training and support and the champions of a tool, right? Having an AI chatbot that you can speak to help you with how to use a new tool, how to get the most out of a Gantt chart that maybe I'm not super common with, and I'm used to using things of a like a spreadsheet, can really help make the PMO team be more efficient, spend less time doing some of those things, and spend more time doing more PMO stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the use cases are endless as well, aren't they? Just going on to one from Pete, he has he's got a couple of upvotes on his, so it seems popular. He's asked, the AI is trained from an LLM, but can the VIPs learn from our own frameworks, processes, etc., that we use within the organisation, like a delivery framework that's created from government guidance? How does that work from a security perspective too?
There's a lot to unpack in that question,
Yeah.
Laura. I talked about the organisation framework that you can put in place already. So that's one where it can start to understand the organisational context in which it's working. So it can also begin to understand, okay, am I operating mainly in an agile or a Prince 2 environment? But equally, you can tell each of the partners which environment they're working in as well. So you can say to Peter Project, you are operating in an agile environment, so you are managing your project in an agile way, or you're using a waterfall technology and those sorts of things. Now, what we're bringing on board at the end of the year, many of you will be familiar with the teal book process and the new work that's going on around creating a projects framework from the what used to be called the IPA. That's now moving forwards, and actually it will become a fact that you'll be able to say, how does this fit with best practice? How does this fit with best practice against the teal book? And we'll have made sure that the teal book elements are built into the solution as well, so that you'll be able to say, am I managing this project in accordance with the teal book?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really useful for many of our clients. So Neil has asked, pretty sure the answer will be yes, but to clarify, I assume the same AI agents can be added to as many projects at the same time as you'd like at the same time, and potentially the same agents added multiple times to the same projects with different personalities? And yes. I know the answer to this one, yes.
As we roll out the VIPs, this isn't something we actually anticipated, is people wanting to add more than one project manager to a single project, an AI project manager. But actually, we're putting a minor update in a couple of weeks' time that will allow you to have as many of those as you like in an individual project with different personalities, exactly as you just described there. So at the moment you're limited to one of each, but with a different personality, but they can be added to as many projects as you like, and they can have a different personality in different projects. So they can be a pessimist in one project and be an optimist in another project. So there is a way of creating multiple, for example, risk managers with two different personalities in the same project. It's just a little bit convoluted at the moment. So we're making it easier because lots of people have asked us precisely that question, which we didn't anticipate actually until we put it out there.
Yeah. That's good to know. Right, who was next? We've got Lindsay. She is asking, something that our project teams can sometimes struggle with is identifying when a risk has become an issue. Would AI be able to help by reading through the updates for the risk to prompt them to convert them into an issue? That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. If you ask it to, it will absolutely do that for you. Amazing.
Right. Good. They're all very AI focused, which is exactly what we suspected, to be honest. There is one or two though. There is one that's come through. How can Verto help organisations bring consistency without losing flexibility? So that one's not necessarily about the AI, but more about the platform, I would say.
I'll start and I'll let Ross bolt on with anything. So I think Verto's really good at having standardized repeatable processes, and that comes from its flexibility as a tool. So being flexible by nature and configurable allows you to create a best practice repeatable process that can be adopted and rolled out across the organization, driving consistency, providing tools, the same approaches, templates, and things like that to help that. But the good thing is that it doesn't compromise on it from a flexibility perspective. Ross mentioned it earlier, capital projects, BAU projects, right? Asset projects through to IT transformation projects. There's going to be differences and nuances, and so Verto's really good at taking those nuances and keeping things similar where possible, but ensuring it can remain different where necessary. And there's lots of tools and functions throughout the system. I'll rein myself in a bit because I'll probably go into 20 minutes of system talk about it, but there's lots of different ways that it's flexible to allow for those nuances to come through and to shine where they need to, but ensure that standardization, rigor, and consistency is there throughout wherever you need it.
Okay, fab. Okay, Christopher has asked, should we embrace a future where our primary role is to input data, such as plan updates and risk mitigations? Plan updates and risk mitigations, while AI takes the lead in providing portfolio and program oversight.
I mean, interesting.
Yeah.
I think AI is very good at doing the program and portfolio insight because it can create it, because it has visibility of all of the projects sitting underneath it by default. And if you like, it can go and read all of those things in seconds, compared to if you try and read every single project update across every single project that you've got in your program, you might be there a little while. Whereas the AI can just immediately scan across all of your projects in your all of your program portfolio and bring all that stuff out in seconds. So I think you might be right. Actually, is you use the human maybe augmented with the AI in at the lower level, but actually, where does AI provide the most value? Maybe at the project, but at the program portfolio level. But I think time will tell, and I think we'll start to see that as we start to see more users using this over a period of time.
Yeah.
But, very early into the journey on this.
Yeah. There's levels as well, isn't there? You know, there may be a project or program that you're fully invested in and know everything there is to know about it, in which case you wouldn't feel necessarily like you were just inputting data all the time and letting AI do the interesting work, which is sort of what this question is alluding to. You know, but where AI would be really useful there is just helping you out with something that you may not have thought of. You know, you can still say, okay, I know everything about this, but let's build this team before I go into this meeting with actual real people. Let's build a team of VIPs, of AI agents in Verto, and I know what I'm thinking. Let's just make sure that, you know, my little team of AI project management helpers that I've got now think the same thing. And if they come up with anything new, then you're going to go into that meeting with the real live people a little bit better informed. So it could be, I think it depends.
I think if you've got to look at it for how do you want to treat it? Do you want to say, well, actually, you know, a kind of AI is taking the clever bits and just making me a data monkey, and I'm just putting that data in. It's never going to. I don't think in this environment it's never going to do that. I look at it from a different way and look at it and say, well, actually, it's helping me to focus on the things I really need to focus on. So the things that are really interesting that I can get my teeth into, that I need to be spending my time on, I can spend my time on because I can let the AI do the bits outside of that. So again, I think it's just how you choose to view the AI elements of it. Do you want to view it with that kind of, well, it's going to take over, so I'm just going to I'm just a data monkey, or it's going to help me do my job?
Yeah. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to take another couple of questions, and then in the email that I send out, I will make sure that there isn't a reply email address for any that we didn't manage to cover. Robert has said, how can PMOs help the organisation focus on designing approaches or systems with AI that focus on what's really important and not overwhelm colleagues with too many options?
Okay, I can start with that, and I think overwhelming colleagues with too many options, if you're honest, is often one thing that our users try to do when they first take on Verto, because they think, oh, this amazing tool that it can record anything that I want about projects, and I can ask my project managers to put everything in about every single thing that I'm running. And precisely what you just said happens, is that they get completely overwhelmed with I've got to input this data, this data, this data. Where the hell am I going to get all of that from? How am I going to have the time doing it? And you know what? The end result is people don't use it. No, it's too much. It's too much. So are we in danger of doing that with AI? Yeah, maybe. But one of the things that we've got with AI is that AI can help us to do stuff where actually we need to provide more data. So it can start to fill in some of the bits that you didn't want to fill in, but actually the project manager still wants to have filled in. Right. So it can start to help supplement that information. I think there is still a danger of overwhelming project colleagues. It is one of those dangers you always have when you take on a project management tool and you're operating as a PMO. Verto has lots of other tools to help people to just segment and see the bits of data that they need to work on. Our feed functionality, for example, allowing project adjacent people who might not necessarily need to see all of that data. For example, I just need this person to do this one task. So let them just see that task and not see everything else, and focus in on doing that thing. So there's not necessarily an AI element. It's kind of a Verto setup of how you choose to segment your data as well. And that's where our client success team, client experience team really come into their own, because they've done this for 17 years. They understand how our customers operate, and they understand what end users off, what really works from an end user perspective. And they can really help our customers with that change management piece of where's the best bit to use AI for, what's the best thing to just use standard Verto and segment the data this way. And so it's a combination of using that years and years of expertise that we have as an organization, together with the data requirements of an organization as well.
Yeah. Okay, one more question if we can do it really quickly. So Max says, from a security perspective, is the AI model restricted to its operational parameters, or can user provided data be repurposed for other users, such as model training?
No.
There is a second part of that, but I don't know if we've got time.
Let's just address that one, because it's a really important point, is that any data that gets sent to the LLM that Verto is using is not used to train the model, which means that any data that any of our customers send to the LLM will not be surfaced to any of our other customers or anybody else using the LLM, period. Okay, it is entirely private. In fact, it only exists for the period of time that the conversation with the VIPs is in play. So that conversation that's going on with the VIPs, the data gets sent to the LLM, it's processed by the LLM, it's deleted by the LLM and returned back to Verto and deleted from the LLM, so that it's never retaining any data. It is specifically not being used to train using your data.
That is, I think, good to know, and reassuring for many people. I think it comes up a lot, doesn't it? Yeah.
And we do have an AI explainer document to help reassure people if people want to see that.
Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Well, we're going to have to stop there because we've got 2 more minutes. But thank you all so much for joining us today. Of course, huge thank you to you as well, Ross. It was a brilliant session. Thank you.
Okay.
And Craig, of course. Well, of course, Craig. But you did the bulk of it, so thank you. Now, before we sign off, a quick reminder that today's session has been recorded for anybody who missed my intro earlier. I will get you the recording link in the next couple of days, definitely before the end of the week. If you don't get my email, just head to vertocloud.co.uk and the webinars and podcast page, and you will see the recording there on our website. Now, quickly looking ahead, I'm very excited to tell you about our next webinar coming up later this month, because of course this one was supposed to be last month. Now it's called You've Just Got Verto, So Now What? So this one is a bit specific. It's for anybody who suddenly finds themselves managing Verto. So maybe your senior management team has just made the decision to roll it out. maybe you've inherited it through a new role, maybe you're a project manager about to start using Verto, maybe today's webinar has rung true and you want to have a little chat with us. We hope that's the case. Either way, we all know what it feels like when you've been dropped in the deep end. Now, we do realise that this one is going to suit more of our current clients, probably more so. But if you're interested in hearing about how Verto can support you, guide you, help you hit the ground running, and tackle this particular phase of using Verto, if you're interested in hearing about how we do that, then you are more than welcome to join us. You will find that link in some posts on our LinkedIn page coming up very soon. And I will make sure that the registration link is again in the email that I send out to you. It's going to be fun. It's going to be practical. And we've got some other Verto people coming to join the session. Colleagues that I've not done webinars before with yet. So it's going to be really great. And we hope to see you there. But thank you again for being part of today's conversation. It was great. And I really hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Thank you for joining us.